I'm Frederick March. I'm here to show you what the best practices are to change your life and to become more successful in everything you do. This is episode 15, Trauma. Hi, how you doing? Rev Fred here. Nice to see you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Okay, so this podcast is about a really light discussion about trauma. Not light at all. Yeah. So part of this whole process that I'm going through and envisioning and spending time with the Lord and being still and knowing that He is God and asking Him for revelation about me and how I operate and how I work. You know, our minds are powerful, powerful things, and our souls are, everything is really, really interesting how they interplay and work together and help us produce what. But what I'm going to get into today is trauma. You know, and specifically trauma that happens when you are young. It could be even pre-birth, you know, the trauma that the mother is going through in the process of your development, how that could cause nutritional and environmental issues within your development that could cause issues down the road. But more specifically, I'm going into trauma that actually takes place after you're born. And somewhat, I would say, focusing on trauma that is potentially trauma that has happened when you are a child and you don't necessarily have that capacity to understand right from wrong at that point. I think it's up to the age of 12. You don't really get what's right, what's wrong. You're just getting input. You're getting, you know, and the more input you get about something, the more you put into your subconscious or your belief system that this is how things are. And in order to protect yourself, you need to do this or that or the other thing. It's interesting. I've been doing a lot of research recently about trauma and development and all that kind of stuff, and how it can produce the life that you're living now based on your coping mechanisms that you had in place back when the trauma took place. If you didn't know how to deal with trauma, if you didn't know how to deal with neglect, if you didn't know how to deal with abuse, no matter in what form it came. And so then you decided that in order to protect your heart or your body or your mind or whatever, you did something specific, like you repressed your emotions, or you disassociated from your body during that moment. So then that disassociation became maybe like a fracture, and that fracture then was what took the abuse, and that fracture still exists within you. And sometimes even if a situation does not have an abuse component to it, can trigger that to come up and react in those moments to cause you to act in a way that's counter to how you want to live your life, because it was a mechanism that was set into place in order to control the fear, pain, the suffering that you were dealing with at the time. It's not fun. It's not good stuff. I personally have had quite a bit of trauma, some in the house, some outside of the house. You learn, right? And this process started because I wanted to change my mindset about my body. I wanted to get lean and fit and healthier. And I was learning to think of myself differently. I was thinking of myself as somebody who's fit and strong and healthy, and having that mindset and changing the visual image that I had of myself, because I had a visual image of myself that, you know, I didn't know where it came from. I just knew that I had that image of myself, and it pervaded in my life. And even though I might have lost weight at some point, it would come back on. Even though I might have gone on a diet, I didn't lose weight. Even though I might have started working out on a regular basis, I would quit. Even though it was all kinds of emotional stuff that was making me sad, that I was overweight and unhealthy and unfit, and I wanted to change. And I started the process of change, but that process was always interrupted by something, some sort of internal control mechanism that I wasn't aware of, that I wasn't, sure of. And so I started by changing my visual opinion of what I look like, by envisioning myself healthy and fit and going through a life that I wanted and having the things that I wanted and being confident, and it was helpful and it was working and it was doing really well and I was doing really well. Still am doing okay, but I got COVID and it caused, I am not saying, I'm going to say this in a way that's, I am not saying that internal belief system that I had within myself gave me COVID. I'm not saying that. I would be willing to say that at any cost, my subconscious was going to try to make sure that I maintain the belief that I had about myself, despite my whole circumstances. So if that meant repressing, which was already a very powerful immune system, in order to, when I went into a situation, I was more readily contagious, say for example, that wasn't possibly on the table. I don't know. All I know is that it was all kinds of stuff emotionally trying to come up to get me to stop. There was all kinds of feelings coming up wanting to get me to stop, to no longer work out every day, no longer eat well every day, no longer not have sugar in my diet every day. It was like, I also believe that there's no such thing as willpower. So, because I've used it thousands of times in my life and it didn't work. So it's something different that was happening. So I was trying to figure that out, and I'm working through the process. I'm learning why, like, what is it that's inside, that's up here or in here or somewhere, maybe even in here. There's 3 brains that we have, and they all do their own thinking, and we want to get them all synchronized in the same place, So I was praying about it and thinking about it and seeking the Lord about it. And since after COVID, I've eaten sweets now a number of times, which I hadn't had any for months before. I haven't gone back to the gym. Now, physically, I'm not 100%. The COVID symptoms are still continuing, but I need to make that step to at least go back. If not just to go back, just to hang out in the sauna or something. I need to start the process back again. And it's not a willpower thing. It's a change in my mindset thing. And I need to make sure that is changed, and that is no longer being the thing that's controlling, because I will fall back into the same patterns if I don't change the process, if I don't change the programming. We're programmed. We've been programmed since the first time we had either love or no love, compassion or no compassion, was being beaten or being understood. Those things all programmed us to figure out how to live through this life and how to work through this life and what to do. It is interesting. It is not impossible to figure out. It just takes a willingness, a strength to be able to say, this is not who I am. This is who I am. And who you are is what's in your heart that you want to be. God doesn't give you a vision for your life that doesn't have a possibility of happening. So who you see yourself to be, what God's vision for you is not false, even if you can't see a possibility of that happening. But what you need to do is you need to go to the Lord and go in prayer and go and then ask people for prayer and all that kind of situation, and then seek within your own spirit, your own heart and your own soul and your own mind to say, why am I acting this way? Why am I reacting this? Why is that can of cookies more important to me than my life? Because you have to be able to look at something and say, this cookie is death. No cookie is life. You're going to choose the cookie? If you're choosing cookie, you're choosing death. Why is it so powerful to do that? What is within you that's causing you to think, I'd rather have the temporary pleasure of having that cookie and deal with the consequences of that all the time afterwards than to not have that cookie? It is work, but it's such good work. It's so important. I feel like this process that I'm going through is the process that I'm going through to help you go through the process you need to go through. It's critical. It's critical. We need to understand ourselves. I don't know you. Maybe one day I'll be blessed to be able to know you, to be able to hug you, to just be with you and listen to you. And that would be joyful for me. But for now, I don't know you. And even if I had the opportunity to sit in front of you and listen to your story and what you've gone through and how that may affect how you are walking through your life at this particular junction. And that's an important thing to do for somebody. But nobody's going to know you better than you. The reality is, I say that, but the reality is we don't know ourselves at all, I don't think. I think if we knew ourselves, we would not walk the way we're walking. We would not do what we're doing. We don't really know ourselves. And the idea is to know yourself, to know why you do what you do and how come you're doing it. So I'm not going to get into trauma that I had as a kid. Now, I'll give you a few examples. Like my birth father died when I was 2. Before that, we were quite poor and we lived in a place, and I got, as a baby, I got pneumonia and I almost died. No fault of my parents. That's the situation that they were in. They were doing the best they could with what they had. And I didn't die, but I got very sick. So if you're a baby and you're very sick and you're crying and you're feeling bad all the time and nothing's comforting you, maybe that makes you think that you can't be comforted. And so what's the purpose of crying? What's the purpose of complaining to somebody if you're never going to be comforted? Why even express your needs if nobody's ever going to give to you? So why not tell anybody what you need? Let's just not say anything. Because, hey, you're not going to get it anyways. And then, so you might as well just not say anything. That might, in a way, put a person in a situation where they never reach out for help. They've never asked what they need. They're more focused on providing what other people need more than themselves, which makes people around them think that they're a really nice person. And maybe they are, but it's a compensation for not thinking that they're ever going to get what they wanted anyways. So what's the point of even asking? Apparently that mindset can be the mindset that causes all kinds of diseases in your body, because you're repressing your own feelings, you're repressing your own emotions, and that eats away at your body. You are not giving yourself what you need. You are actually becoming the enemy of yourself. Which is ironic, because if you think about it, most diseases like cancers and stuff like that are your own body attacking itself. And that's exactly what we're doing. We're not allowing to get what we need, so we're repressing ourselves, so we're attacking our own selves. We perpetuate that idea. We don't want to put it out there what we want because we're afraid that we're going to get attacked or hurt or said no to, or whatever the situation is, or not even noticed. And so we don't say anything, which puts pain on ourselves, and our body doesn't get what we want. Our spirit doesn't get what we want. We reach out for nothing. We take control of whatever we can take control of on our own. So how do we deal with this lack of emotional output and be able to get what you need back? Well, you provide it for yourself. How do you provide your own needs? If nobody's an island unto himself. Everybody needs somebody. So how do you do that? Well, maybe you use alcohol. Maybe you use drugs. Maybe you use food. Maybe you use hurting yourself. Maybe you use whatever it is that you might be struggling with. Maybe you use those things in order to repress those feelings, those expectations, so you don't expect from people, so you don't have to worry about being rejected by people, which is you fighting against yourself. You're repressing your feelings. You're repressing your emotion, which doesn't allow them to get out. And so what happens? It's the same thing maybe for a disease. You're repressing everything. Anyway, from what I've learned, that is a very big probability of why people are sick. Not because you are pre-genetically disposed to have cancer, to have heart disease, to have diabetes, all these things. You may be predisposed. You may have the genes in play, but there's lots of people who have the genes in play for those things that never develop them. So what develops them? Maybe what develops them is this repression, this beating yourself up. I'm not good enough. Why should anybody do anything for me? I'm not good enough. I was never good enough to get my mom to give me the breast when I needed food. I was not good enough when I cried at night and I wanted to be comforted, and instead they let me sleep all night crying in the bed while they slept. Now they was told that that's what they're supposed to do. That's what people were told. They were told, don't breastfeed anymore. Give them, the fake stuff, whatever that's called. I forget now. Anyway, and don't breastfeed them. Well, the breastfeeding was so critical to your development, and even the resting on the body and the being a part of that whole thing. And then at night when you're crying, they say, well, don't pick them up. You pick them up and they're going to continue to cry. They will continue to cry for a period of time until that development happens where they feel comfortable. They feel safe. And then they'll stop crying. They always stop crying. One gives them what they need. One does not. All that stuff, it causes all kinds of stuff. You get abuse from a family member, from a neighbor, from the kids outside, whatever kind of abuse that is. Most children who don't understand about right and wrong make the assumption it's their fault. No matter what the situation is. I have in prayer time and in counseling time, I've come to a place where I believed that my father left because I wasn't good enough. I wasn't a good boy. I was 2 years old when he died. He died of a car accident. I'm a child. I don't know any better. I know that he was there and he left. He was gone. Why did my little heart say he left because I wasn't good enough? I don't know. Babies are selfish. It's all about themselves because they're developing. That's what they need. So everything's about them. Kids are like that for a long time. But it's not that it's a bad thing. It's an important thing for them to develop properly. They need to be selfish. This is why I need food. I need to get changed. I need to, I need my father. Well, he's not there. So then it's all about me. It's my fault. Beyond that stuff, it's like, then you have behaviors that come from that kind of situation. My mom always considered me to be a good kid because I wasn't acting out. I wasn't misbehaving. Not because I didn't want to. Obviously, I wanted to do things, but I wanted to be a good boy. I wanted to be a good kid. I wanted not to have any problems. Didn't cause any problems. I didn't want to make any waves. I would get beat up every day at school. And it's not just at the school that I was, the grade school that I was last. I was in another city, and I was in a grade school there, and I got beat up every day. We moved to another city, and it just started again. I got beat up every day. Why? I don't know. I don't know. There might be something that happened. Maybe because I was so insecure and I didn't know who I was and what I was supposed to be, that I was downtrodden. I was looking down and I wasn't engaging, and so then I would be a victim. They would look at me and say, well, this is the one I can attack because look at him, he's weak. I remember now. I didn't remember until yesterday during a book that I was going through, and it made a statement that made me go, what? That's me. That's me. And then I prayed about it today and seeked about it today, and I got a verification that, yes, it is one of the core mindsets that I've had that has kept this on me my whole life that I can remember. And this is what happened. There was a time that I wasn't big. I was pretty fit. But I wasn't conscious of it. I was so busy working and dancing and doing martial arts that I didn't even... I still thought mentally that I was still big. I was fat. I realize now that I wasn't. But I thought that I was. I don't know how to explain that to anybody. To believe that you are something that you are definitely not. But I still had that mindset that that's who I was. I'm a big guy. I'm a big guy. I'm a big guy. And then I realized yesterday, oh my gosh, the reason why I am a big guy is because it keeps me safe. When I was a little boy in grade school and I was getting picked on and beat on by the bullies every day, during school, after school, the teachers would say nasty things to me. Oh my God. Then I made a decision in my heart that, you know what? If I was big, they couldn't do that to me. If I was a big man, if I was huge, they couldn't hurt me because they'd be afraid of me because I'd be bigger than them. So they wouldn't come at me. Sounds so simple, but I made a confession in my heart that I need to be big. I need to be big. And I started getting fat that moment, I think, because that became my identity. I am big. I am big. I need to get big. I need to protect myself. I need to be stronger. I need to be bigger. If I'm bigger, then I can't be hurt. I can't be picked on. I can't be bullied. I'll be able to fight back if I was bigger. They won't even come at me if I was big enough. They would just be afraid of them coming at me. My whole life, that was my identity. I needed to become big. And when I became big, it was true. After grade school, I got into high school. Now, I was big in high school, probably 400 pounds. Maybe a little less than that. Big. I never had another fight. The first day of high school, there was a little bit of an incident. After that, there was one time another guy said something to me, and he came at me, and I kicked him. Because I was in martial arts, so I knew how to fight. So I kicked him, and the fight was over. At that point, I never had another fight. Ever. Until I chose to have a fight, like in a bar or something like that. People were drunk and I needed to be big to protect myself. Now, I think that could go in a couple ways. I think if I'm big enough and I'm protecting myself against being like, make yourself big, make yourself wide, don't let anybody come at you. That is one part of it, but also maybe protecting myself when I'm big, that if somebody attacks me, maybe it bounces off easier, emotionally. And then maybe, because I was rejected a lot as a kid, and I was afraid of rejection my whole life. I had made a commitment to, be celibate until I got married. But at the same time, there was times in my life where I didn't want to, but when I would be in a situation, I'd be rejected and rejected and rejected. So maybe this was a protection against that. Because, I'm a big guy. Who's going to want to be with a big guy, Just protecting myself, against that situation. Maybe. Anyways, I've got the revelation that I am no longer needed to be a big guy. I'm okay. That thing that I thought I needed as a child is no longer what I need now. In fact, it's causing me problems now. And that's usually the time when people start recognizing they have mindsets that have caused them problems in the past, because that thing that used to be a protector is now becoming a hindrance to your life, and how to express yourself and how to feel and how to lose weight and get in shape and to keep it off. So here I am at that time. I'm looking at this situation and I'm like, okay. So what I've done, and this is what I've read about, I started befriending that little guy inside of me that needed to be big. And I'm telling him, it's okay now. We're good now. We're safe. We have a protector called God. We're good. We don't have to worry about being bullied anymore. We don't have to worry about it. We're good. You can relax. You can take it easy. You no longer have to feel like we need to be big. We are more than big enough. We're too big. In order to be healthy, we need to be small. Now, to be safe, we need to get smaller. We need to reduce. So that's our new image, okay? Our new image is that we are fit and healthy and strong. That's our new image. So let's walk towards that. And I'm going to be having a regular conversation with that part of myself, comforting that little child that he doesn't need to be worried anymore about being hurt and beat up and bullied. We're good now. We're good. He's protected. I will protect him. He will protect him. It's okay. You can relax. You can be still. It's okay. I have it. Me and the Lord, we're good now. We got you. Have compassion over that young thing in you that never had compassion as a child. Give love to that little thing inside of you, that because you don't want to have it gone. You want it to be integrated into your whole again, because it's part of who you are. You don't want to have the emotional connection to that memories that you had of abuse. You want to be able to discuss them and see them and know what they were, and maybe finally feel the emotional hurt that came from those situations, but not let them control you anymore. Love yourself back to life. Give yourself the compassion that you need, the time that you need. Find the people in your life who you love, who you know will hear you when you speak with them. Tell them, this is what I needed. Don't expect, I'm sorry. Don't expect any of those things. In fact, don't even ask for those things. It's not about what they did, because they walked in their own hurts. They walked in their own programming. They walked in their own stuff. They don't know. The bullies didn't know what they were doing. They didn't know that they were altering my personality to make me sick when I was older. They had no clue. All they knew is they felt pain. And the way they can bring their pain out of themselves and put it on to somebody else. Because mom wasn't taking it, dad wasn't taking it. So I'm giving it to Frederick. I'm giving it to this guy who obviously doesn't want it either, but I don't want it. And so I'm going to take my anger and put it on him and then send him away. Never really a result. Wasn't done properly, When it's done properly, it's through somebody who loves you and can give you a hug and say, I'm sorry. Oh, this is terrible. I really wish you didn't have to go through that. And to love you and have compassion and helpfulness and be there for you. Which I want to do for you. I really do. I want to be there for you. I want you to be able to express that deep down pain that you might have had from that mom that wasn't there for you, that dad that wasn't there for you, that person in your life that walked in their own insecurities and did stuff to you that they never, ever, ever should have done. Ever should have done. And to know it's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. You did not do anything wrong. You are a good person. You just were in a situation that you had no control over. But now you do have control. You didn't then, you do now. So let's deal with that little one that's causing mayhem in your life right now. And show him or her or them that it's okay. It's okay. You'll be fine. We got this. We have a new Father who loves us more than you can ever imagine. And he loves you inside as he loves me outside. He loves the entire world. He loves that person that abused you. He loves that kid that beat you up. He loves them. They didn't know what they were doing. You didn't know what you were doing. Your parents should have known what they were doing, but they did not. They were reacting. The people who hurt you were hurt themselves. Not an excuse. It's not that it's okay that they did those things. They should have known better. We're just learning now that the things that people did to you as a child can be the reason why you are walking in sickness and disease and struggles and emotional issues and psychiatric issues now. Because you did something in order to try to protect yourself. Not your fault. It's not wrong. At the moment, it was the best thing for you to do out of a bad situation. No longer needed. So let's walk away from that. Let's change that. Let's walk free from that. I'm walking free from that. I am no longer going to allow that little one to say we need to be big to protect ourselves. No, we're protected already. That's okay, boy. It's okay. We'll be fine now. We're good. You can rest. You did a great job. You did a fantastic job protecting me when I needed protection. You did a great job. But now you need to relax. Now you need to sit down and enjoy yourself. Be a child. Play. Do your thing. Let me be a full person again. I need to feel my emotions. I need to lose this weight. I need to have mental clarity. I need to have peace in my heart and in my brain. I need that in order to achieve the goals that I need to achieve in my life, to be what I need to be in my life. So, thank you. I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. I love you. You are a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful part of me that protected and treated me with honor and respect. I appreciate that. I really do. Now let's have freedom. Sounds good, eh? Let's go have some freedom. Let's go and have freedom. Thank you. So this is my podcast. I think I'm going to call it Trauma and How to Deal with Trauma. I want to have more like this, more discussions like this, more talks like this. I'm thinking that it is the key to all of our woes that we have in life. This program and how it was programmed, what programmed it, why did we program it this way, and what method did we use in order to protect ourselves. And that's no longer causing us to be protected. In fact, it's doing the exact opposite. It's now harming us. And how to walk free from that. How to become a whole person again, to walk fully in who we are and not have any kind of repression of emotions and repression of who we were. And sometimes that's going to be difficult to see what happened and to recognize what happened and accept what happened, and then walk free from that and say, okay, I see that that's what happened, why it happened, and this is what happened because of that. This is the consequences of that action. So now let's just reverse the situation. Let's walk free from that. Because we need to have healthy and whole and full relationships with people where we can express our emotions. They can express their emotions to us, and we can not react over the top and that's it, blow up, and then lose this relationship and lose that relationship and lose this relationship and lose all of our relationships and quit jobs and walk away from businesses and taking too much drugs that ruin our lives and being involved with pornography in order to compensate for something that we're trying to compensate in our heart that, we want to have but we never had, to dealing with the images that we have playing over and over in our head because of an abuse situation that happened in the past that causes us to not to have a physical healthy relationship now, because that keeps popping up and making us feel like we're being attacked again, even though it's not an attack. It is a loving situation. All those things caused by trauma. Unfortunately, I think every single one of us has had trauma of some sort. Your trauma could have been that you had parents that were not there for you. So you've learned that nobody's going to be there for you. So you just don't depend on anybody. You're independent. You do your own thing. And if you're in a relationship, you're still independent. I can't trust you. You're not going to be there for me when I need you. You're just going to walk away. So why should I even bother trusting? Okay. I love you. Give you a big hug. See you later. My kitty Harmony wants to see me. I need to give her the compassion and love that she needs. All right. I love you. Very big hug. Thank you, Lord, for this wonderful, wonderful opportunity. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Bless you. Bless you. I love you so much.